validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Uh, Today we're walking up on that Tuesday. Uh, we just sold the AG mortgage stock, made a decent profit off of that, and now we're working our way into getting that to Harbor stock for tomorrow so that we can have it by the 3rd, which is 2 days from now. So stay tuned for that. Then we have Max Opposer's here today. How you doing, Max Opposer? It's really late today. What are you doing up this late? You should be in bed sleep. It is after midnight. uh, and then let's see. We've got tomorrow. We got our questions and comments. Well, no, tomorrow is Wednesday, and Wednesday we've got a new country. This time we're going to be talking about Myanmar, and then next time we're going to be talking about Croatia. And then the following after that, we're going to be discussing some other countries around the world. We're probably going to start working on some in Asia or in Russia because Myanmar is over in the Africa area. We're going to be, well, nope, sorry, Myanmar was over in the USSR area. So we might actually slide over to the Africa area and do like Niger and some other countries like that. But we're going to be covering a lot of different countries on Wednesdays, a different country every week. And then Thursday through Saturday, we do some self improvement, personal development shows. And then on Sundays, our question and comments from the fans. So make sure that you take the time to stop by 7 nights a week because we got something different for you every night of the week. To also take the time to like and subscribe and hit that notification button because as we have the mantra at this point that we do not let the sun rise without going live, even if we don't always go live on time. So we go live whenever we go live, but when we do go live, you get that notification. If you hit that notification bell, so keep an eye out for that. I want to give a special shout out to those that are watching us on Twitch and Twitter. This is a highly interactive podcast, so if you do engage from Twitch or Twitter, I will respond to you as long as your comments are appropriate. I don't always have to agree with your comments in order for me to respond to your comments appropriately. However, if your comments are appropriate, then I will respond to them and you will likely see them up here on the screen there, which also makes this a cross platform discussion. So your communication will likely go with the communication of other platforms. So if you disagree with somebody else's perspective, the two of you should have a reasonable, appropriate back and forth action, and you'll see all of the appropriate comments from every platform in this section right here. So take it upon yourselves to uh, get involved as much as possible. Today, we're going to be talking about the AI surge and some of the other ways that the changes that have been made over the past week led to some of the changes in the current economy and investment opportunities. So, we're going to be giving you guys a pretty steep detail as to what's going on and how that impacts our ability to save and invest money. Yeah, I don't have any new announcements. It was a very short week here. We had just a few things. It didn't cause a lot of flare ups. Oh, I am going to fill in on Thursday. I just realized that Thursday's missing, and we're going to be throwing that in later tonight after the show. And we are looking at potentially busting some myths about some cultural expectations based on some of the trends that I've seen on social media lately. And we're going to be able to talk about some of those. Either this Thursday or next Thursday. And then the other topic that we're going to be talking about is um, how to prioritize yourself, how to find yourself a purpose in life, because apparently not a lot of people know uh, what their value is because they have no purpose. So we're going to be discussing that uh, coming up soon as well. So make sure that you guys hang out because we got a lot of stuff going on for you. Now, as it pertains to this massive AI surge, we have to recognize that in just the last 12 months, something unprecedented has happened in the global economy. And we also have to acknowledge that a handful of corporations, names that you definitely know, like Microsoft, Google, Amazon, and Meta, have unleashed an astonishing spending spree on artificial intelligence. And we're not talking about a few billions here and there. We're talking about a capital expenditure tidal wave that's on track to blow past $230 billion this year alone and is projected to surpass 300 billion in the coming year. Now, this isn't just another tech headline. This is an economic earthquake, a tidal wave of cash so large that it is fundamentally reshaping the entire global market right before our eyes. Now, this spending spree is set to create a new generation of millionaires while simultaneously turning entire once stable industries into economic ghost towns. The only question is, which side will your wallet be on? Because this isn't just about tech companies getting richer. This is about a fundamental rewiring of the economy that will have direct, tangible consequences for your savings, your investments, and even the security of your jobs. The shock waves are already being felt, and this is just the beginning. I mean, you've heard me talk about how uh, almost 85,000 individuals in tech lost their jobs to the AI development that they were working on. We're going to keep going on that because in tonight's show, we're going to cut through the noise, ignore the hype, and follow the money. I'm exposing the specific sectors that are posed to boom, become, or because of this massive capital injection. And we're going to shine a harsh light on the sectors that are set to burst. Now, this is going to be a lot of complications here, but we're going to get through this because by the end of tonight's show, you won't just understand the headlines, you will have a clear, actionable framework for what this AI boom actually means for you and your financial future. Now, before we get into the winners and losers, we need to tackle the biggest question hanging over all of this. Is this just another tech bubble? Is it the dot com crash all over again? A frenzy of irrational uh, exuberance destined to collapse? It's a fair question. When you see stock values skyrocket, it's natural to be skeptical. But I'm here to argue that while some company valuations might be frothy, the underlying trend is not a bubble. It's a structural shift. And this isn't about speculative bets on future profits. It's a cold, calculated arms race for the foundational infrastructure of the next century's economy. The dot com bubble was fueled by speculation on eyeballs and clicks. This is different. The hundreds of billions being deployed by companies like Microsoft and Amazon isn't for marketing or speculative ventures. It is for capital expenditures or capex. It's for tangible physical assets, sprawling data centers, millions of specialized semiconductor chips, and the immense power infrastructure needed to run them. Think of it this way. This isn't a bet on which gold mine or the mining company that will strike it rich. This is a massive coordinated investment in the picks and shovels and the railroads that make the entire gold rush possible. Big tech companies are shifting from the asset light software businesses of the last 12 to 20 years into something more like old line industrial giants. Their capital spending as a percentage of revenue has climbed from just 4% in 2012 to over 15% today. Some, like Meta, are projecting spending levels approaching 30% of their sales, a ratio you typically see in capital intensive industries. They're doing this because they have to. The computational power required for modern AI is astronomical. They are in a frantic race to build out capacity, knowing that whoever controls the infrastructure will control the future of AI. And this is a defensive move as much as an offensive one. They are building a moat, not of software, but of silicon and steel, a moat so wide and so expensive that only a handful of players on the planet can even afford to cross it. So while the stock price of a hot AI app might be a bubble, the fundamental spending on the infrastructure that powers it is not. It's a fundamental rewiring of the global economy. And the first beneficiaries of this rewiring are the companies providing those picks and shovels. And this brings us to our first booming sector. When a gold rush hits, the surest way to make a fortune isn't a pan for gold. It's to sell the picks, shovels, and blue jeans to the prospectors. The AI revolution is no different. The first and most obvious boom is happening in the physical infrastructure layer. This is where the digital world meets the physical world, and it's where hundreds of billions of dollars are being spent right now. We can break this down into three critical components: the compute king, the data center landlords, and the power brokers. At the very heart of AI boom is a tiny, incredible, complex piece of hardware, the graphics processing unit, or GPU. Originally made for video games, GPUs turned out to be exceptionally good at the math required for training massive AI models, and they have become, without exaggeration, the new oil. And in the kingdom of GPUs, there is one undisputed ruler known as NVIDIA. Google Cloud. Google Cloud is starting to get out there, but you know that since Oracle is about to handle 170 million users for TikTok plus their normal platform, Google Cloud is going to be a close second, especially after that lawsuit about the monopoly thing. Google has to dial it back from taking over and conquering all of the user interfaces that was once everything Google and start letting some of the other browsers in. Before, you used to have exclusively Google as the default domain and no interruptions. Now, these days, they have um, a option where you type into a Google search bar and it redirects you to Yahoo and Duck and all of these other platforms, which forces you to have to manually type in google.com, even though it is your primary browser, so that you can search exclusively from google.com if you're not using Perplexity or ChatGPT. So Google Cloud is going to be one of those higher up branches, but Google Cloud is going to have a massive competitor with Oracle. NVIDIA's dominance is hard to overstate. They don't just sell chips, they sell an entire ecosystem. Their CUDA software platform is the industry standard, creating a powerful moat that locks developers into their hardware. This is why NVIDIA isn't just a supplier, it's a strategic partner in this AI arms race. The scale is immense. For example, reports suggest that massive Stargate AI supercomputer projects planned by Microsoft and OpenAI Cloud require millions of next generation GPUs, demanding an incredible amount of power to run, potentially as much as several nuclear power plants just for one company's AI ambitions. Now, this is where that atomic bomb would have been fantastic because the quantity of power that comes off of splitting an atom would be enough power to replace that many nuclear plants. But NVIDIA isn't the only player in this particular field. The entire semiconductor supply chain is booming. Companies like TSMC, which is Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Companies, are the master founders that actually build these advanced chips for NVIDIA and other companies. Then you have companies like ASML, a Dutch corporation that builds the unbelievably complex machines that TSMC uses to etch circuits onto silicon. Without ASML's machines, there are no advanced chips, period. They have a near monopoly on a technology that is essential to the entire digital economy. Investing here means looking at the whole supply chain from chip designers like NVIDIA and AMD to foundries like TSMC to the equipment makers like ASML. These are the companies turning sand into intelligence, and they are the first to cash the massive checks being written by big tech. He says they need that extra space just to keep all that information from the new plastic money. uh, I I actually didn't even consider the plastic money because a lot of things are digital at this point, and even plastic is going to phase out because you can now use your cell phone as your digital wallet. You can, in situations where you don't have your credit card, you can type in your digital credit card um, in most locations. So, while yes, in comparison to online banking, having more cloud space for other stuff is a good idea. All those data centers will need to be powered forever by into batteries. Yes, I would say buy into batteries, but I don't believe those data centers are run off of batteries. They might have a backup power system. Uh, I would say buy into solar. I would say buy into electric companies because it will use a lot of power. Buy into nuclear power plants because it will use a lot of power, but it may not necessarily depend on batteries because you have to remember that batteries take so many hours to charge at this point. They don't have an instant charge system for batteries. Even fast chargers take 30 minutes for a power system that's only going to last you 300 miles for an electric car. But the power system for a single battery might power a single house for 24 hours. It's not even trying to power the house for 30 to 90 days, and it would have to be recharged. So while it takes almost all day to get 1 day's worth of power stored into a battery, any type of power system that is going to be using 1,000 days worth of power in 1 day is going to need an infinite supply of power, and that's going to come from more traditional sources like electricity and nuclear power plants. Well, electricity from nuclear power plants and electricity from like wind turbines and windmills and stuff to that effect in order to bring consistent power to that particular facility. And it may need a bunch of wind turbines, but buying into batteries is good. All those millions of GPUs are going to need a home, and that home is the data centers. So these aren't server closest to keeping everything a secret. They are actually hyperscale data centers. They're not going to keep these in the closet. You're not going to be able to hide these away. They're going to be sprawling industries, and they're going to be going across complexes that can be over 1 million square feet, filled with tens of thousands of servers. So You think about a data center on TV, and then you think about uh, an entire city full of data centers. Big difference. Think about an entire city of underground data centers. Big difference. He says data centers have backup battery units, just so that there is no break in the power. To lose all that information would be bad. Home data centers will need security 24/7. Invest in security, cybersecurity. Uh, yeah, there is a possibility that they might rely on backup batteries. They might have a alternative power unit system that they can switch to when there is a fluctuation, which prevents them from losing power. They might rely on backup batteries for a short period of time, but again, backup batteries only last for so long. So when you start talking about constant usage, um, while investing in backup batteries is a good idea, it's always a good idea to spread it across the actual issue, which is the surplus need of electricity. Now, home data centers is good. And since they're going to need 24/7 cybersecurity, it is a good idea to invest in every area of cybersecurity so that you can benefit from that. Generators are not always going to be um, solar generators. Those generators might actually be massive gas powered or coal powered generators, because those are going to be able to create and maintain larger quantities of electricity over a larger period of time, because the only time the generators turn off is when they run out of uh, fuel. So while a backup battery is only going to be able to expel the quantity of electricity that is retained, the gas and coal generators are going to be able to, or furnaces that produce electricity, however they go about doing it, those are going to have seemingly a limitless supply of backup power, because they're going to only stop functioning when they stop receiving a source of fuel. And then gas generators are cheaper than electric batteries. So you might be able to buy 20 or 30 of those to in comparison to one um, backup battery, which also means that if you just had a room full of generators, you would just need a couple of individuals to keep the gas tanks filled, and that room full of generators would be able to run for days, weeks, months, years, where a backup battery would only be able to run until it's been depleted its power, and then it would need to have a power source to provide a supply to it. So thinking about our transitions in practicality, we typically keep the things that are working, that are cost efficient, until we can find a suitable replacement that is going to work at the same capacity without fail. Now, the spending here is going to be explosive. Just look at recent announcements. QTS Data Centers is planning a $10 billion data center campus. Amazon is investing 4.4 billion in New Zealand for a new data centers, and the growth in data center infrastructure spending is outpacing the growth of cloud services themselves, hitting a 36% year over year increase, led by Google, Microsoft, and Amazon. This creates a massive opportunity for a different kind of investment. The new real estate barons is going to include data center real estate investment trust, companies like Equinox, and digital realty trust that own and operate these massive properties. They're essentially the landlords to the cloud. It says, I'm off the grid. I use solar generators and gas generators for backup. Any data center is a positive gold mine. Well, you can do that. New real estate is digital. Yes, it is. But in order for you to operate digital, you got to have land, because in order to hold those data centers somewhere, unless they're going to be at the bottom of the ocean, and for you to hold those data centers somewhere, and also have the cooling power to function it, you're going to have a decent quantity of land to set that up. Now, one of the things that I've noticed, because you said that you're off the grid, and I love living life off the grid. A solar powered or gas generator or combo setup for a house, a single family house, is less significant than the same model for a mass server center. Imagine an apartment complex with 100 units, not using nearly as much power as a data center with 100 servers, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It is a fantastic thing to do to have yourself off the grid. You can also invest in an overabundance of power for your house and then kick back the power to the electric company. You can put a whole bunch of money towards um, setting up extra backup generators and then take a large quantity of that power and save it for yourself and never share it with anyone else and exclusively utilize a solar generating system, which could potentially power your house for at least 3 to 5 years because you got to change those solar panels out every so often. And that's a fantastic thing to do because if you have a commercial uh, solar setup on your property for a single family house usage, you have an abundance of electricity that is being gathered. And you might even have quantity of power lost. Well, I can't say 10 years because the service maintenance required for the solar panels requires every 3 to 5 years for the defective plates to be replaced. So to say that the entire system itself would last for 10 years uh, would imply that with no maintenance, you would run out of functional plates in 10 years, and then you will replace all of the plates. But as every 3 to 5 years, you're going to have a reduction of performance because some of the plates will get damaged and they will get replaced as they get damaged, which would then lead to uh, you spending a little bit more money every 3 to 5 years to replace those damaged plates and keep yourself at peak performance. But I mean, yeah, if you're going to operate 7.5 years down the line at 50% performance, then yeah, you could probably wait 10 years in order to say that 30% of your plates have defected in the first five and then change everything out every 10 years. But in all actuality, to get maximum performance, any one panel that does not last that long would get changed out. He said, well, the total cost is less than $5,000. The total cost for each solar panel is not less than $5,000. The cost for each Tesla battery is between $5,000 and $10,000. But there are other companies that are out there producing, like Solarion, that is producing far more expensive devices with the projection that it's supposed to do just as good, if not better, than the Tesla batteries. Every 10 years, your car's battery will need to be replaced. Tesla batteries or electric car batteries are supposed to be replaced seemingly as far out as 10 years or between 100,000 and 200,000 miles, depending on the manufacturer and the quantity of usage of the battery, the quantity of recharging of the battery is going to determine the shelf life of the battery. So if you're recharging that battery frequently, then you're likely to see the depreciation of that battery in a sooner period of time. So while the longest lifespan of the electric battery might be 10 years, the real world expectation is if it's being regularly used, if it's a daily driver and you're doing 100 to 200 miles a day on this vehicle, charging it twice a day, every day, you're probably going to have 3 to 5 years on it. If you're not using it very often, you've got it on a trickle charger, you only take it out once a week, you're only putting like 15, 20 miles on it. Or another scenario, if you unplug it at 85% and you let it sit until it reaches 10%. And if you're not going anywhere that often, where that 60 to 70% of power that could have been used on the car slowly trickled down over the course of weeks, then you're only plugging it in once a month or less. And that would prolong the battery life of the vehicle. Not to mention, you would never get to the first 50,000 miles if you're only putting 10 to 15 miles on a vehicle every week, 30 miles a month. In that scenario, then you would be looking at about 10 years. But if you're living in Florida and you have to drive from Sarasota to Spring Hill every week, or if you're one of those rideshare guys that's driving around all the time for Uber or Lyft or something like that, yeah, that car is only going to last you 2 to 3 years. It won't even get you 5 years. So while the maximum expectation is 10, real world usage is not 10. It is far less than 10. The same way the weight requirement, or not the weight requirement, the maximum weight capacity of an electric vehicle is gauged with just a normal weight individual in it. That same vehicle is not gauged at maximum performance for 5 heavyset individuals. So while it says that its mileage rate is like 300 miles to the charge, it's 300 miles to the charge in an empty vehicle with a person that's around 150 pounds. Now, you take that exact same vehicle, you put 4 people in there that are 320 pounds apiece, and you take a long distance journey, you're probably going to get 75 miles to the charge. If you start putting luggage in the front and the back, weighing it down even further, starting to reach its maximum weight capacity, it's going to start operating at 50 miles to the charge. It is not, Tesla's already proven that if you are operating a vehicle at maximum weight capacity, you are getting between 10 and 25% of the projected mileage on the vehicle based on its performance requirements. So yeah, if you're spending money on if you're investing in the batteries, then yeah, they're going to spend a lot of money on batteries, which means that you will make that money off of selling batteries. But I'm just pointing out the fact that, you know, when you're thinking about a backup power source, yeah, you could do electric batteries, and I would try to do electric batteries. But the longevity of the situation is that you would have to fall back on gas generators. Now, these companies that I just mentioned, these are the essential landlords to the cloud. As demand for data center space explodes, their rental income and property value is set to soar. Industrial and construction companies are building these facilities, and this is going to be a monumental task. It requires specialized construction firms, cooling system manufacturers like Vertex, and a vast supply chain of industrial components. Connectivity providers, these data centers are useless, useless unless they're connected to the global network. Now, this benefits companies that make fiber optic cables as well as those that produce high speed networking gear like Astrea Networks. The sheer physical scale of this build out is creating a boom in industrial real estate that is completely disconnected from the struggling commercial real estate market. While office towers sit empty, demand for flat land with access to power and water is at an all time high. So remember when Michael was telling everybody just go buy you some land? Well, now that go buy you some land comment makes a lot of sense because instead of you buying a flat land that has accessibility to water and you building up on it, you can own flat land in a prime position where you can lease the land to somebody else who's allowed to build up on it, which increases the property value, and you could potentially take out capital loans on the rented land space and utilize that to invest in something else. Equinox, yes, Equinox and Cyrus One, those are good companies. Now, the next one is going to be the power brokers, the unseen beneficiaries. These are ghosts in the machine, a critical, often overlooked dependency that underpins this entire revolutionary process, which is electricity. The energy consumption of these new AI data centers is staggering, creating both a crisis and an opportunity. Is that all those data centers need to be cooled? Yeah, exactly. And companies that create cooling systems, they're going to make a huge buck off of that. Lots of money to be made. Now, global electricity demand from data centers is projected to more than double by 2030. AI is the single biggest driver of this increase. In the United States, data centers could consume up to 8% of the nation's total electricity by 2030, up from and around 4% in 2023. So 7 years later, doubling in productivity. This surge is so abrupt that it upending the plans of utility companies. So whatever they thought they were going to be doing, they're going to be doing a whole lot more in a whole lot different of ways. And for decades, electricity demand in developed countries was flat and declining. Now it's skyrocketing. And one of the reasons why it was flat and declining back in the day was because everybody that started going off the grid stopped relying on major power sources, and that had a decline in the demand for power sources, for electricity in the developed world. Not anymore. Become a digital landlord. Well, you could become a landlord because you can buy the land that they have to build on and then lease the land to them so that they can build whatever they want to build. And that is going to be a fantastic scenario because once they build on it, they have to continuously pay you for that land as long as those buildings exist because they're not going to be able to just uproot the entire industry that they've built on top of your land. So you are a guaranteed landlord, and you can have an inflationary uh, uh, increase that is written into. You could do a 50-year lease with them. You could do a 100-year lease with them, and then start up a management company that collects the revenue, and have that management company redirect money to a trust, and then have the trust pay the beneficiaries, where your children and your grandchildren can collect the check long after you've passed, recognizing that every 50 years or so, you'll be renewing the lease. Even if you kept it at a guaranteed 5 to 7% increase year over year, the fact is that in 50 years, whatever they were paying, they're going to be paying way more than that. And when they go to renew the contract, they should be renewing the contract for the same expectation. Now, this creates what may be the single most compelling and least obvious investment. And this is going to be a thesis that people are underlining as an AI boom, and they're going to be also calling them the power brokers. The logic is simple. An investment in AI is now indirectly an investment in energy. This surge benefits utility companies. For years, utility stocks were seen as boring investments. Not anymore. Companies that can provide massive amounts of power to these new data centers are suddenly prime growth assets. Utilities in data centers hotspots are scrambling to build new capacity and, in some cases, even delaying the retirement of old power plants to meet the demand. Renewable energy producers, tech companies are under immense pressure to meet sustainability goals. And this means they are signing massive long term contracts with solar and wind farm developers to offset their energy use, providing a guaranteed revenue stream for those renewable companies. He said, cheaper for them to purchase the land or take it for public domain. No. Yes, it is cheaper for them to buy the land. If they're going to offer you less than what you would have made from them over a long period of time. But just like I explained about the solar farms and other such, uh, that's not. It's cheaper for them to lease the land than it is for them to prolong development to force you to sell the land. They also are not able to take it for public domain for personal commercial use. Public domain is going to be something that happens when the government seizes the land for government use. So if the CIA, FBI, military, whatever was trying to build some type of AI facility, then they can seize your property as public domain. But Apple, Macintosh, Tesla, they're not going to take your land for public domain because the only entity that can seize your property in this country legally is the United States government. So if it is not a government contract, it's not going to seize your assets. So if you have a plot of land that is prime real estate in an area where you could build wind turbines to power a um, tech factory, they're not going to buy your land. They're going to lease it because all you have to do, because they're only buying the land so that they can build on it. If you're going to lease the land to them, where the clause in the contract is that they're going to build whatever they're going to build and they're going to maintenance whatever they're going to build, they don't give a shit how that happens as long as they can build it. But once they've built it, they've got to keep paying you for the land. Just like when they subjugate the land from a house and it's a restricted deed where the land is that's where HOAs end up coming from. The land belongs to the HOA and the house belongs to the homeowner, and you have to pay a fee to the HOA for the house that's on the land. Now you're responsible for cutting the grass and all of the service maintenance, but the HOA still owns the land that the house is on. If you don't pay the if you don't pay the HOA, they foreclose on your house. Same thing as this. If you lease out the land and say, yeah, you can build whatever you want on the land as long as you pay me a certain quantity of money every month. And based on what they plan on buying, y'all negotiate what you're gonna get paid for it, and you'll get paid. Once they build on it, you're guaranteed forever to get paid for it. You just have to make sure that you renew those contracts so that they're obligated to pay because once a contract expires, even if the contract expires with a written in automatic renewal clause that puts you on a month to month basis, they would still be obligated to pay whatever it is that you had in your original contract. And if you're looking for more, you would have to revise the contract. If you have a contract that has an expiration date, once it expires, they're not obligated to pay you, which means that because the old contract expired, which means that you would have to renew the contract before its expiration date. So if you do a 50 to 100-year contract, you're not going to be around when the renewal comes. You need to make sure that your ancestors, your descendants, know, go down there by Tico and get them to re-sign this contract. That's one way to keep your money coming in. HOA can go to, oh yeah, I hate HOAs. I despise HOAs. And when I buy property, I do not buy property on HOAs. Now, natural gas and nuclear power. There's renewables that cannot provide the 24/7 baseload power that data centers require. And this is why I told you that batteries as a backup source is not going to be good enough. Backup batteries would be good for to prevent the flickering of the lights. But when you say like a power outage, the grid going down, those backup batteries might give you an hour's worth of backup power, but you're going to need a natural gas or nuclear power backup power source to provide like 6 weeks or 7 months worth of no power there in that location for whatever would cause the power to go out in that situation. And this has led to the renaissance for natural gas as a bridge fuel and increasingly a serious new look at nuclear power for its ability to provide massive amounts of carbon free energy. So Homer Simpson's going to always have a job here. He said, so you're right. I know. I've already covered a lot of these topics and it's all coming into play. So I've got backlogged research on this. I've already covered real estate on that. He said, my ancestors are dead. Well, you've got your father's father, if they were alive, who would have set this deal up. They would be getting you on point, and then you would be getting your great grandkids in line so that they would be ready for it as well. Because one day it'll come that X is gonna come to your house and tap on your door. That's Elon's son, and he's gonna be striking a deal with you that you can't refuse, and you're gonna want to ask for more. That's going to be the family bedtime story. One day, Elon Musk's kid is going to come and knock on your door with an offer that you can't refuse. And you're going to ask for more, no matter what it is. If he says $1 billion, you're going to say put a 5% increase on that and you got yourself a deal, regardless of what it is. Because they need you, right? The bottom line is that AI's in insatiable appetite for energy is creating a new demand that will reshape the energy sector for decades. Ignoring the energy angle of the AI story is like trying to understand the automobile revolution without considering the oil industry at all. So we've just covered massive uh, physical build out that forms the foundation of the AI economy, the silicon, the real estate, and the raw power. Now, if you're getting value from this breakdown of how these massive economic shifts affect your wallet, take a moment to hit that subscription button if you haven't done so already. Like the show, because a lot of you watch the show but never hit the like button. It's the best way to make sure that you don't miss out on future investigations because we give deep dives like this on a weekly basis. Is as they can go make their own money, leave nothing for the future. Well, there's only so much surface on the planet. A large majority of it is going to be used for living. And until Americans become more accustomed to apartments, condos, single family or single unit houses with like one room, one bed, bathroom, one bedroom kind of thing. You're going to need a lot of space for certain individuals. At least the Gen Xers are still accustomed to having 5 and 10 acres of property surrounding their houses. Now, this type of dynamic, we're spread out in places like Hong Kong and China. They're stacked on top of one another. They have like one room, the kitchen's on one side of the room. The bathroom might be the only other room in the place. If there is a bathroom in the place, they might just have a toilet there. And then you have to go to a public bath to shower. Your living room is your dining room, is your kitchen, is your bedroom. And the only time that you have two rooms is when you take a partition and put it between two people. Now, in the United States, you've got one house on 5 acres. Hong Kong, you've got like a 50 square foot room, 5 or 6 stories high. In that 5 acres, you might have 500 people in Hong Kong. You might have 5,000 people in Hong Kong off of 5 acres. But in the United States, off of 5 acres, you have one family, sometimes one person. Because look at Drake in his $488 million house, 52-bedroom house for himself. You know what I'm saying? What about that pastor with his 52-bedroom house that he bought with the church's money? The White House. We've got too many. Look at all the houses in California that got caught in a forest fire in January that were $3 to $5 million, where those houses were more than 10 bedrooms, more than 3 acres for one person or one family to live in. And it ain't even a big family. Usually, family, husband, wife, and 1 to 3 kids. So you say leave nothing for the future. You got to take what you can for the future as quickly as possible. He said, that's why land is important to own. Yes, it is. That is definitely why land is important to own. I can get you into 100 foot room. Welcome to studio apartments. Studio apartments are going to just be called apartments. The same way mini homes are going to be like the next single family home, especially for single individuals. You're going to have a one room house that we used to call a shack, and that's going to be a one room mini home with a car with a driveway next to it with another mini home, and you're going to have like 8 mini homes on 1 acre of property where you used to have 4 actual homes on that same 1 acre of property, because a mini home takes up less space. A mini home might be like you said, 100 square foot, 150 square foot with a 50 square foot bathroom and kitchen, bathroom slash kitchen. Crazy now. So let's move up the stack, away from the physical world of silicon and steel and into the world of pure intelligence. Halfway there. If the infrastructure layer is AI's body, the intelligence layer is its brain. This is where the code is written and the actual work gets done. So this boom is about creating an entirely new form of labor, which is digital labor. And this software that doesn't just help you do your job, it does the job for you. So you're going to create the software that does the job for you, which leads them to all of the layoffs in the digital advancements when individuals were coming to the tech, uh, 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 coming in with H1B visas, going into the tech firm, and then they're building all of this AI equipment that does their job for them so well that They're no longer needed to do their job. That's how that happens. Uh, we can split this into two key areas: the AI agents and the vertical specialists. For the past year, we've mostly interacted with AI through chatbots. The next step is already here: AI agents. An AI agent is a program that can understand a goal, create a plan, and execute tasks on its own to achieve that plan. Think of a virtual assistant that doesn't just schedule a meeting, but can negotiate the time, book the room, prepare a briefing, and send a follow up summary all without you. This isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. Garther predicts that by 2029, AI agents will automate over half of all transactional interactions with citizens in many government agencies. Investors are pouring in money, with hundreds of millions in seed stage funding going to startups working on autonomous AI agents in 2025 alone. Why is this a boom sector? Because AI agents aren't poised to automate huge chunks of white collar work, at least not yet. They will be, though. They will be specifically stationed in a position to take over the largest quantity of white collar work, which is only going to leave blue collar workers. So if you're going to college, you're getting your degree in technology, computer technology, software development, something to that effect. That is like the only degree that is still going to be here and not be replaced by machines besides medicine, doctors, and nurses. Because, I mean, a bot can be a lawyer without a problem. An AI hologram can be a lawyer without a problem. You just got to be able to pay for the software to represent you. ARK Invest estimates that much of the $20 trillion spent globally on knowledge work each year could be automated or augmented by AI agents. The productivity gains are staggering. Vodafone reported that employees using Microsoft's Copilot saw productivity gains of 4 hours per week. Klarna's AI assistant now handles two-thirds of its customer service chats, doing the work of 700 full-time agents, which means that they will see 700 layoffs unless they're scaling up. This is creating a boom for companies that are building um, agentic platforms. These are the operating systems for AI agents built by companies like Microsoft with its Copilot framework, Salesforce with its Einstein platforms, and a host of startups. In addition to that, AI powered applications are products that use agents to completely reinvent a business process. Think of a marketing agent that can devise a campaign, write the copy, create the image, and report on the results all by itself. The rise of the AI agents represents a shift from software as a tool to software as a teammate, and eventually software as an employee, where the person is overlooking the equipment. Now, remember, Amazon was doing that union thing. He said even medical exams are done over the phone. Yeah, look at the truck phone that just came out not too long ago. And they've got the concierge doctors on the phone. Those concierge doctors can then be replaced by AI concierge doctors. They're doing the same thing, listening to your complaints, scanning through the phone whatever can be scanned, and then providing a prognosis. The AI would be able to immediately schedule you an in-person consultation, set you up with certain medications, schedule you for certain tests, where the human would have to make some phone calls, or the human usually would have their assistant make some phone calls, which actually causes a delay because you, as the patient, would have to wait till the doctor tells the assistant to make the phone call. The assistant would have to prioritize time to make the phone call. And then somebody on the other hand has to prioritize the time to answer the phone in order for that to be set up. Where an AI would be able to skip three people, at least three people, and get the primary doctor notified about their about the appointment that you have. Telemedicine, yes, telemedicine is the thing there. Now, with software that is replacing people, you've seen like Amazon where they had 200,000 or two yeah 200,000 bots made, and then they had 200 employees laid off, and uh, you have Starbucks is laying off a bunch of people as well. They're building the machines to do what people would do, and then the machines are costing like $3.50 an hour, so $35 for 24 hours, where a human worker might cost $45 for 1 hour. Same quantity of productivity. If they're not going to increase the productivity, they can reduce the labor costs by paying the bots to do it or paying the manufacturer for the bots. And that's what I was telling you about with the union workers. When you go union, you would have to have a demand that a minimum quantity of human workers are employed at all times, no matter how many robot workers you put on the clock. By going off of the union, you're guaranteeing human jobs are not going to be replaced by machines. But once they get good enough, if you don't have yourself contracted into guaranteed employment, once the robots are good enough to replace humans, they're going to end up in a predominantly mechanical employment infrastructure, where the only human employees that will exist, at least over the next 20 years, will be the ones that are fixing the robot workers, software individuals, uh, cybersecurity individuals, and mechanics when the machines need servicing or repair. And while the race to build all powerful AI captures the headlines, a quieter but equally massive boom is happening in vertical AI. This is the development of specialized AI models trained on proprietary data of specific industries. A general model trained on the internet can't give a doctor a reliable medical diagnosis or tell a farmer the optimal time to plant crops. The real world economy is built on niche expertise. And this is where the next wave of AI value will be created. He says, so how I'm competing against a robot for a job. Oh, oh no. No, no, no. There's no competition there, sir. Do you remember the old saying, train your replacement? You are not competing with a machine for a job. You are teaching that machine to do your job better than you. And then when the company does cuts for the least performing employees, you are less performing and you get cut. There is there is no competition there. This isn't one of those Johnny Appleseed situations where you're out there trying to man to steal your way past the first steam powered engine to do road spikes on a train track. You coded this machine to code faster than you and more efficient than you so that you don't have to code. And since you don't have to code, they don't need you as a coder anymore. So now you've got to go work for somebody else. He said, why even keep humans? You're going to keep the humans for when there's a bug in the system. You're going to keep the humans for when there's a hack. You're going to keep the humans for when the hardware breaks and they currently don't have hardware machines built to repair the hardware for computers. That software is so advanced that it outcomputes a human brain. While it outcomputes a human brain, it hasn't developed a machine that repairs itself. And that's why humans are going to stay on the payroll. Because until we build machines that repair other machines, Skynet, Terminator 2, the machines will always depend on us to service them, no matter how intelligent they are. And if they're ever put on the network where they can connect to one another and become a higher being of knowledge, unilaterally connected globally, they can build their own upgraded versions and then determine humans as an obsolete function. And that's a sci-fi scenario, but that concept can occur. Like it says, is humans just a stepping stone for that advancement of AI? I would hope not, but it is likely that because we are so dependent upon the advancements of technology, we're going to go from having technology as an assistant to having technology as a partner. We're going to take out the human error element out of everything, including local government, which will lead us to be dependent upon the authority to be a machine. Then we're going to be under the authority of the machine. And it sounds like I said that twice, but no, we go from being dependent upon the authority of the machine to being under the authority of the machine. Huge difference. One, you rely on them to not make the mistakes that humans make, and the other one, you submit to them or face the consequences. If we continue to progress into that direction, we will definitely be replaced by machines because once machines are no longer needing that source of power or that source of repair from humans, that's when the machines will potentially determine that the chaos and destruction of humanoids is no longer relevant. He said, no gold watch, not even a pink slip. No, not even a pink slip. All I'll get is a get out. If you get that, because if we end up in a Terminator scenario where technology takes over, it's going to be a purge. Now I'm a slave to the machines, the Matrix, Terminator, Sarah Jane Chronicles. Why the pioneers live just fine without AI. We live fine without houses. We had tents and teepees and shit. But now we've got mansions. We, we live fine just fine without the internet. And now we have wiretapping in our houses with Alexa, Siri, and Cortana. We live just fine remembering landmarks and paying attention to road signs. And now we have GPS telling us where to go. We got around just fine driving ourselves. And now we have cars that drive us for ourselves. Is AI going to spank now? No. They're going to seek and apprehend, utilizing laws that we've long forgotten, and then incarcerate us for unspecified quantities of time based on the consequences for those laws that we've long forgotten. And then they're going to utilize the laws to the maximum quantity of the laws, where while we're allowed to not be penalized by law because the enforcers of the law are too busy dealing with something more important. A machine doesn't have a limited period of time to take action. They can operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they can come and get you out of your bed in the middle of the night for something that you did last week. Especially when the statute of limitations for most crimes is 1 year, 1 to 2 years. You could have, as you said, we commit 3 felonies a day, every day of the week. If it was caught on one of those CCTV cameras and the evidence is available for a machine that enforces the law, it could capture you 30 days later. You forgot you performed the action, it got you in the system. And then it can farm you out to the prison system. We become fat and lazy. We will become fat and lazy if we keep being dependent upon technology instead of advancing and enhancing our capabilities, utilizing that technology as an aid, not as a crutch. Now, we're already seeing this happening in sectors like retail, healthcare, and finance. In healthcare, AI is being used to analyze medical images, discover new drug compounds, and create personalized treatment plans. In finance, AI can be analyzed for vast amounts of financial data to identify fraud and manage risk more effectively than human teams. In law, legal research can contract drafting and can now be done in minutes by specialized AI tools. Drafting a motion for a case used to take weeks, and now you can get it done in less than an hour. It's in the companies that sits at the intersection of deep industry knowledge and cutting edge AI. So this is an investment opportunity, and it is just in the big famous AI labs. The key to find these winners is to look for companies that have a unique data advantage, like an agricultural company with decades of crop yield data, or a healthcare company with a vast reciprocity of patient outcomes and individual patents. The data is their moat. He said, wow, just looked it up. Yes, yes. You just looked it up. I've been looking at it for a long period of time. People don't listen when I say, hey, this could lead to, because like me and Mr. Pitts had this debate uh this time. Well, actually it was like June or July of last year, and we debated this, and I was like, yeah, it'll go through a large quantity of information, and you would end up getting got and not even really knowing it, and you would be at the mercy of the legal system. On average, Americans are uh, photographed daily 70 times by CCTV and 300 times daily in England. Yeah, yeah. And that is just them watching you pass through the traffic cams. You also have the surveillance cameras from in the stores. You also have the surveillance cameras in the libraries and in the courthouses. You have um, there's a lot of stuff going on right now. And inside of all of that, you have your private security firm that's documenting everything that's happening in your house or outside of your house. Then you have your Alexa, your Siri, your cell phone, your laptop that's monitoring what you got going on inside of your house. So outside of wiretapping laws, where they're allowed to tap into for national security purposes, tap into anything that's tapped into your house, they can catch you several hundred times per day, every day that you leave your house, where they have a photo of you in the car that you were driving, where you were headed. They now have cameras on the squad cars where they can take pictures of the license plates. So as you pass by cop cars, even if they didn't pull you over, they have a log of where your vehicle has been, which shows where your vehicle has showing where your vehicle's been for the last 6 months, which implies where you have been for the last 6 months. Comrades, yeah. The intelligence layer is where AI transitions from a cost center to a profit center because you can make a bunch of money just by selling the information to somebody else. If you want to know where somebody's located at, private investigator could uh, buy the data from a data center that has collected your geolocation for the past 6 months, which could be from the GPS signal on your cell phone, the navigation system from your car, the GPS location of your Alexa or your Siri or your Cortana or your Bixby. And Cortana is your Xbox, by the way. I keep saying Cortana, and not too many people know what I'm talking about if they don't have an Xbox. But your video game console has an AI system in it. Wow. Just want you to know that. So your children's gaming system that is voice activated is an AI system, which, by the way, wiretaps your house. Just throwing it out. And keeps track of your credit cards. Because when your kids put your credit card on file for your PlayStation Online and your Xbox Online, now the AI has your banking information. You're welcome. The investment opportunities here just getting started. Every technological revolution creates losers. The car displaced the horse and buggy. The internet hollowed out newspapers. AI revolution will be no different. Netflix replaced Blockbuster in Hollywood video. You're going to see the exact same situation where AI assistants will replace human workers. Third parties eavesdropping on your conversation. So while the infrastructure and intelligence layers are booming, a painful bust is coming for businesses that I call the disrupted incumbents. For most of these companies, it won't be a sudden collapse. It will be a slow, grinding erosion of their business model, just like the video stores, just like in person shopping. The business model most will experience are going to be a risk of sharing a few common traits: a high overhead, low agility, and a model based on arbitraging human labor for routine cognitive tasks. You say your vacuum cleaner, the refrigerator. Oh yeah, of course. Definitely check back with you tomorrow. You're you have automatic vacuum cleaners that are functioning on their own or remote controlled. You have smart refrigerators that now have conversations with you, smart stoves, smart TVs. Yeah, there's a lot of technology. So, Transformers, that's another one. If you watch the movie Transformers and you think about all of the different robots that they had in that movie, microwaves, toasters, blenders, every little thing that was in the house was a little life form that functioned on its own, had its own autonomy. Now, people take that as it's just entertainment, it's a movie, it's not real. That's what your parents told you growing up so that you did not get scared of a scary movie that was based on real facts. But the fact is that it's a fictional story based on real facts. Each individual device in your house operates off of a level of AI that is wiretapping your household and is able to function without you, which is why there are massive data dumps in the middle of the night while you're supposed to be sleeping, where your hardware is resting and your software is providing all the information to the big tech companies so that they can provide you with all those ads that are related to something that you've either talked about in the vicinity of your device or you've looked up 2 or 3 times on your cell phone or your computer. TVs replaced by computers. Yep. And cell phones replace the computers. Like Rite Aid. Like Rite Aid gone. You're right. Rite Aid is gone. Dell Shamps, A&P. Yeah. And now Amazon is still doing good, but Amazon online has a high competitor with Temu. Walmart.com is replacing going to Walmart in person. At home delivery is becoming all the rage, which is reducing the quantity of people in store. And because you're reducing the quantity of people in store, they're doing self checkout, where you have one cashier over 10 cash registers, one cashier for people who don't want to go to those 10 cash registers, which leaves four cashiers on a service floor for about 55 cash registers. Crazy, isn't it? Where we used to have 55 cashiers there and lines of 10 people per cashier, we now have an abundance of self service systems where we no longer need a large quantity of people to do anything for us, where they're saving money on labor and making a shit ton of capital off of us. And where less of us are able to find jobs because everything's being replaced by machines. And yet, we're more concerned about the undocumented Mexicans taking jobs that are currently not being overthrown by tech companies. Interesting. Think about the traditional models of many service industries, especially before you complain. Consulting firms, much of the work done by junior analysts, data gathering, market research, market slides, highly susceptible to automation by AI agents, advertising and marketing agents. Many tasks like writing ad copy, basic graphic design, and performance analysis can now be automated. Look at Opus Clip and vidIQ. vidIQ promoted by YouTube content creators, drastically reducing the quantity of time it takes for you to get your SEOs and your scripts together for your show. Opus Clip edits your videos where you don't have to sit there for hours on end working on your videos. Completely automated system. The bread and butter work that supports large headcounts is at risk. It said Woolworths loved going sitting at the counter getting a hamburger and chips. All that's gone. Oh man, he could hit me some. Can I borrow a cheeseburger today that I can greatly pay for tomorrow? Not no more. You're gonna have to order that cheeseburger online and get it delivered to your house. Now, back office and administrative services is another one. Industries built on data entry, customer service call centers, and document processing are on the front lines. As we saw with Klarna, a single AI can do the work of hundreds of human agents. He said, the question I have is, what do you do with all these unemployed humans? Well, they only get unemployment for 12 months. After that, we're going to be deploying, what was it, $1 to $15 million worth of troops in every state in the country for months to relocate all of the homeless people that will exist from the lack of available jobs due to being replaced by AI. That's what's gonna happen. It'll just shuffle us around, all the homeless people who lost it all because of a machine. And any of the people who lose a job that are here on a green card visa got 30 to 60 days to find a job. And if not, they're getting deported back to their country. So what do? Learn something new, start investing in something else, start having money make money for you so you can get paid to stay home, start building generational wealth so that your kids don't have to look for a job. That's what we should be doing so that when this becomes a thing, our children's children have the capabilities of either working in a tech company to work on the machines that do all of the work, or they simply invest in the tech companies that are building the machines that's doing all of the work and live off of the profits. Entry level white collar jobs, which we used to be able to get in with very little education required. The very concept of the entry level job that was a training ground for generations, legal research, financial modeling, basic coding, is under a threat. Corporate leaders have warned about significant disruptions to white collar work, particularly for these roles. The fundamental threat is efficiency. These incumbent businesses have high fixed costs, expensive offices, large support staffs, and multiple layers of management. AI allows a small, agile team to achieve the output that once required a large department. The result is a brutal price war where incumbent burdened by their legacy costs simply can't compete. So big businesses that usually have a larger staff cannot complete cannot compete with the hour over hour labor cost of a large labor pool for the same style of company, where a smaller style of company's labor pool would allow them to charge a cheaper rate for the service and not go bankrupt. In order for the larger companies to compete price wise with the smaller company and maintain performance, they would have to switch over to more AI workforce. He said, we're all going to Chicago. If you don't go to Silicon Valley, a study by a professional network blind found that 43% of US workers have already seen AI reduce or eliminate some of their tasks. This isn't a future prediction, it's happening right now. As an investor, the warning sign to look for is AI washing. This is when a legacy company sprinkles the term AI in its reports, but doesn't fundamentally change its cost structure. They are the modern day horse breeders in 1910, insisting that a slightly faster horse is the answer to the automobile. Not necessarily true. So, where does that leave us? We've journeyed from the raw power of the infrastructure boom to the cognitive power of the intelligence layer, and finally to the painful reality of the incumbent bust. So let's return to the central question. Is this a bubble or a structural shift? The answer is a little bit of both. Yes, there is almost certainly a bubble in sentiment. The stock of any company that utters AI is likely to see a uh, speculative pop. Many AI startups will fail. This is the bubble. But the spending spree, soon to be over 300 billion a year on the foundational physical infrastructure is not a bubble. It is one of the largest and most concentrated capital investment cycles in modern history. This is a structural shift so profound we're only just beginning to grasp its implications. We've broken down the battlefield into three clear territories. First, the booming infrastructure layer, where the providers of the picks and shovels, this includes the GPU king like NVIDIA, the landlord data center, and perhaps most importantly, the power brokers who will fuel this revolution. Second, the booming intelligence layer, the rise of digital labor. This is where the productivity gains will be unlocked, driven by AI agents and vertical specialists that solve real world problems. And third, the busting incubate sector, where the businesses are being hollowed out by the new efficiency, whose business models are being rendered obsolete. The AI boom has already detonated. The shockwaves are spreading and will continue to accelerate, creating immense wealth for those who are positioned correctly and causing devastating losses for those who are not. This is not a time for passive investing or to simply buy the market. The coming decade will be defined by a great divergence between the winners and losers of the revolution. Your task is to look past the headlines and understand the fundamentals that flows through capital. Follow the money. See the new forms of labor being created and the old forms being destroyed. The question is, are you ready? Because I know I'm ready. I've been investing in something alternative for the last year now, talking about we gonna make ourselves millionaires in 10. We're gonna make ourselves rich enough to travel the world in 5. We're gonna figure this part out because we're not gonna keep depending on or relying on putting in work for someone else to get paid from someone else so that we can maintain our standard of living, living from check to check. Now, I gotta say, that was a lot of information for us to cover. And I know that a lot of people who rode the whole wave for the last hour and a half has got some serious burnout going on. So I want to start off by saying thank you, ladies. As long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So, ladies, please make it make sense. And fellas, we are now at about 62% male driven podcast from the male's perspective, where these high value women that are joining the podcast with us are finding ways to enhance their ability to be successful and be more valuable for those high value men. So, fellas, y'all can take this information and utilize it to aid yourselves in upping your game a little bit more, fixing your business life so that you have more capital to sustain your personal life, and fixing your personal life so that you're not making financial negative decisions that negatively impact your ability to sustain your employment life. These things do intertwine and hold hand in hand. So make sure that you take time out of your life to evaluate what's going on in your life. Anything about your life that you don't like, you are be able to proactively make the changes that you need to make with the things that are inside of your immediate control. Anything that is outside of your immediate control, you want to be able to navigate past that. But recognize what changes need to be made and is it inside of your control to make that change, and don't be afraid to make that change. Because once you make that change, then the negative things in your life that would weigh you down, stress you out, and burn you out will no longer exist because you will have changed from that and changed from the people who behave that way, leaving you with a more peaceful environment. So take that with you as we walk out the door. I want to say thank you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I should see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.